Annyeong, Juhinache Ma'am, and my fellow classmates, and Honghyung Hamida in South Korea, which means welcome in South Korea. Let's learn about their geographic location and characteristic, history, culture, economic status, currency, and some of its famous destinations. But first, let us know the four interesting facts about South Korea. First is baby are considered as 1 year old at birth in South Korea. South Korea has the fastest internet connectivity globally in 2017. In 2015, South Korea ranked third highest globally in cosmetic procedure per capita. And lastly, male citizens 18 to 35 years old are required to complete at least 21 months in military service, which is such amazing facts about South Korea. Now let's go on to the geographic location of South Korea. South Korea is located in East Asia on the southern portion of the Korean peninsula located out from the far east of the Asian landmass. An extension of the eastern side of the Eurasian continent, Korea is a relatively small, though prominent peninsula. It can easily locate in Korea on the world map or globe by following 127 east meridian north from the equator to the middle latitude. That exact intersection is located near the heart of the Korean peninsula. It is also quite close to the important geographic political picture called the demila- demi- demilitarized zone of or DMZ. The DMZ divides the peninsula by separating North Korea, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, from South Korea, the Republic of Korea. The DMZ is 1.5 miles wide and centers on the demarcation line that represents the red line in the map. The DMZ represents the strange combination of peace with the intention. There is peace within the zone because it is demilitarized and off limits to the soldier and civilians. That means plants and animals inhabiting in the zone are protected by humans. Yet there is an easy tension between the opposing combat, ready force of North and South who still face the immediate each other across the zone. And there's of amazing facts about the Korean peninsula, which many South Koreans, especially younger ones, describe their peninsula as tiger-shaped. The tiger is the traditional symbol that drives away misfortune, but also represents the urban and aggressively successful modern South Korean economy. Other Koreans, especially older ones, still think of the peninsula as a rabbit shape. The rabbit represents the wisdom of peninsula traditional agricultural economy, which is rapidly becoming a memory. But the tiger and rabbit appear in many Korean folktales and paintings and even on South Korea export. That makes the Korean peninsula amazing. Next is the geographic characteristic. Geologically, South Korea is blessed with so beautiful nature that it has a lot of islands and mountains as you can see in the map. South Korea consists a large part of Precambrian rocks such as granite and gneiss. The country is largely mountainous with small valleys and narrow coastal plains. The Taibei Mountains run in broadly in the north to south direction along the eastern coastline and the northward into the North Korea, forming the country's drainage divided. From them, several mountains range branch off with the northeast to southwest orientation. The most important of these are the Soviet Mountains, which undulate the long S shape across the peninsula. South Korea has two volcanic islands, the Jeju of the peninsula's southern tip and the Yulong about 85 miles east of the mainland in the East Sea and the small-scale lava plateau in Gangwon province. In addition, South Korea claims and occupies a group of rocky islets known variously as Lion Court Rocks, Tok Islands, and Take Islands, some 55 miles southeast of Yulong Islands. These islets also have been claimed by Japan. Before we dig deeper and go to the South Korea's culture, history, economic status, and more, let us watch a short clip of South Korea's geographic location and characteristics zoom in, which you can also watch this with the link below.
Korea lies in East Asia, making up the southern part of the Korean peninsula. It only borders one country, North Korea, but it has a long coastline bordering three different seas: the East Sea or Sea of Japan to the east, the East China Sea to the south, and the Yellow Sea to the west. South Korea has a lot of islands, the biggest one being Jeju Island lying south of the mainland. We also have Gyeojedo in the southeast and Jindo in the southwest. The northernmost point of South Korea lies here, touching North Korea. The easternmost point actually lies all the way here on Jukdo Island. The southernmost point lies on Bislo Island south of Jeju Island, and the westernmost point lies on Bislo Island far away from the mainland. South Korea is the 107th largest country, just smaller than Iceland and just bigger than Hungary, but with about 51.7 million inhabitants. South Korea comes in number 27 in population. That has to be a lot of people in a small space, and yes, the population density is 517 people per square kilometer. And South Korea comes in number 13 in population density. Life expectancy in 1960 was 55.2 years. In 2019, the number has climbed to 83 years.
That's all in the geographic location and characteristic of South Korea. So let's go on to the history and culture of South Korea. The name Korea derives from the name Goryeo. The name Goryeo itself has first used in the ancient kingdom of Goguryeo, which has considered a great power of East Asia during its time, in the 5th century as a shortened form of its name. South Korea is an East Asian nation of some 51 million people located in the southern portion of the Korean peninsula, which borders the East Sea, the Sea of Japan, and the Yellow Sea. The United States and the Soviet Union divide control over the peninsula after the World War II, and in 1948 the US supported the Republic of Korea or the South Korea, which is established in the capital city of Seoul. Since the earliest settlements during prehistoric times, the people of Korea was developed a unique culture based on their outstanding artistic sensibility. The geographical condition of the peninsula provide Koreans with opportunities to receive both continental and maritime cultures and ample resources, thereby performing original cultures of interest to and value for the rest of humanity both then and now. Koreans' vibrant cultural legacy comprise music, arts, literature, dance, architecture, clothing, and cuisine, offers a delightful combination of tradition and modernity. Now is the type of the government of South Korea, or also known as Republic of Korea or Taihan-Mingok. The head of the state and the government is President Moon Jae-in, assisted by the Prime Minister Kim Bok-kum. And the form of the government is the Unitarian multi-party republic with one legislative house, the National Assembly. The type of government of the South Korea was launched in August 15, 1948. 3 months earlier, the first 198 members of National Assembly was been elected in the country's first general election held under the Union supervision. The Third Union General Assembly, held in Paris in December of that year, passed a resolution that government established in the south of the 38th parallel was the only legitimate government on the Korean peninsula. South Korean constitution was promulgated in July 17, 1948. After a month and a half of work of its enactment, the government observed it as a national holiday. The first amendment to the Constitution was made in July 1952, while the ninth and the last amendment was passed by the referendum on October 27, 1987. The country's constitution adopts liberal democracy as the basic principles of governance. The Constitution guarantees the people's freedom, rights, and under various laws. It also guarantees equal opportunity in all sectors, including politics, economy, society, and culture. It also recognizes the necessity of establishing a welfare state. The Constitution also stipulates that all people have the obligation to pay tax, engage in national defense, educate their children, and work. Now, for its economic status. In 2021, the country's most immediate challenge is related to the economic, social, and public health impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. South Korea has experienced remarkable success in combining rapid economic growth with significant reduction in poverty. Income per capita increased by USD 100 in 1963 to more than USD 31,762 today, although the unemployment rate is very low for 4.6 IMF on April 2021. The number of irregular workers is very high. Social inequalities are depending and social ties are deteriorating. The government is struggling to return employment around, even after using USD 400 million extra budget mainly for the job creation project, and is urging pension funds to invest more in the small cap cost the stock to boost innovation. In the medium and longer terms, South Korea will spend more up preparing preparing measures to tackle the low birth rate, elderly poverty, and low employment among women. The IMF expects, however, the employment rate to remain sadly affected by the negative economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The rate being currently estimated to stay at 4.1 in 2022. South Korea was ranked by 10th among the world's largest economic powers and foreign Asian in 2021. South Korea is famous in its spectacular rise from the one of the first country in the world to develop high-income country in just one generation. During the global financial crisis in 2017 to 2018, the country maintained a stable economy and even experienced economic growth during the peak of the crisis. However, the South Korea economy is on track for one of its worst 2 years growth period in more than half a century, battered by China's economic slowdown and uncertainties over the trade war between Beijing and Washington, and the global effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Stagnant investment and failure to dispel of the ban of the chip sector over into other industry already limited economic growth to an estimated 2% in 2019 before declining into negative 1 in 2020. According to the IMF's April 2021 forecast, GDP growth is expected to bounce back in 3.6% in 2021 and stabilize at 2.8 in 2022, subject to the post-pandemic global economic recovery of South Korea. Now to the currency. The South Korea won is the currency in circulation in South Korea since 1945. Although it would be later be replaced temporarily by the won. It is divided into $100, the amount of which there is no currency. The plural of won is won. The Bank Korea headquartered in Seoul is responsible for coining the coins and issuing the banknotes. Currently, peso 5, 10, 50, 100, and 500 won coins, and 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, and 50,000 won bills in the circulation, which shows in the picture the example of the coin bill and the won coins. On the upper picture was the symbol of the South Korea money and the ISO KRW and the date where the currency's issue is in 1945 and the authority which is the Bank of Korea. Talking about the origins of the South Korea won, we must go back to the end of the World War II. In 1945, Korean was divided into the North and South, which each of these territories would have a different currency, although in the both cases it would be called won and would replace the existing yen. The South Korean won was initially set against the US dollar at a 15 won equals to $1 rate. After this, the currency would suffer a series of devaluation in part by the Korean War. The South Korean won was replaced by the won in February 15, 1953 at the rate of 1 won is equal to 100 won. At the time, it was the Bank of Jusan that minted the coins and issued the notes, and it was not until 1950 when the Bank of Korea was created, and with it, new bank denominations were introduced. On June 1962, the won was reintroduced with the exchange rate which is 10 won equal to 1 KRW. And on March 22, 1975, it would become the only legal currency in the South Korea. As looking to the last picture, it shows that the Philippine peso is equal to 23.5 35 South Korean won. That shows that the value of the Philippine money is bigger than the South Korean won. And is um it is the updated value of peso to won. Then the must visit destination in South Korea. Natural attraction. The Nami Island in Cheon, South Korea. Set in the middle of the Bong Hangang River, only 63 kilometers from Seoul, Nami Island provides a popular escape from the city life from the famous local, especially after the filming of the famous Korean dramas. A stroll among the famous path line with the tall metaculus and enjoy numerous sculptures representing love. Rent an electric bike to explore the supposed gravesite of the 15th century general or take a golf cart tour to enjoy the natural surrounding of the countless chestnut, poplar, and mulberry trees. Cool off with a motorboat and water ski rental or jump into the swimming pool. So in the picture was the Nami Island of the South Korea. Next is the Zeoraksan National Park in Sokchon, South Korea. Listed as the tentative World Heritage Site, Zeoraksan National Park shelters rare animals and plants live in an area of 163.6 square kilometers, popular among tourists and naturalists. Valued for its natural diversity, the park has registered about 1,010 species of plants and 1,560 species of animals, which is the black bears, Siberian flying squirrels, otters, and other animals roam the reserve. Just make sure to follow all the safety measures during encounters. Besides exploring the serene natural environment, you can also visit the Buddhist temple situated near the park. The mountainous area covered in fine trees, oaks, and other deciduous trees annual receiving more than 1,000 millimeters of precipitation, so carry an umbrella just in case. Then, the Manjangul Cave in Jeju, South Korea. A 3-meter tall and 23-meter wide lava tube concentrating more than 13 kilometers into the earth, Manjangul Cave makes a part of the World Heritage Sites sheltering exceptional volcanic rock formation and wildlife. Observing the world's largest lava column standing 1.7 meter tall and a stone shape resembling Jeju Island. Part of the larger Maba Tube system, the cave features the greatest number of living cultures of the tubes on the island including the bats and the Jeju cave spider, forming 200,000 to 3,000 years ago. The tunnel remained remarkably well preserved with lava, stalagmites and stalactites and cascades of funky flowstone. Then, here we go to the man-made attractions. First is the Gyeongbokgung Palace in Gyeongno-gu, Seoul, South Korea. Once destroyed by the fire during in the Imin War of 1592 to 1598, Gyeongbokgung Palace has been heralded by many as being the most beautiful of the five palaces. The palace, the largest of the five in South Korea, was built in 1395 and is often referred to as the Northern Palace due to its location. Much of the palace has remained intact over the century, and it particularly the Geo Hero Pavilion and the Pand among Yang Wonjeong Pavilion are amongst the best preserved areas. When visiting the palace, wear a traditional Korean handbook for free or hire one when you arrive. Within the palace grounds are two museums, the National Palace Museum of Korea and the National Folk Museum. The next is the famous Ensol Tower in Yangseong-go, Seoul, South Korea. Another famous landmark in South Korea to see is the Ensol Tower, which is cultural space in Seoul that sits atop of the highest point in the city. The tower was opened to the public in 1980 and is fitted out with the LED technology to allow the tower to light up and produce spectacular lighting show when it gets dark. From the top of the tower, 360-degree panoramic views across Seoul are visible. Inside the tower are interactive arts exhibition, an observatory, and restaurant. And lastly is the Beong Bangchi Skywalk in Jeonseop, South Korea. The Beong Bangchi Skywalk is a new shape bridge protruding out from the cliff over the Donggang River. The skywalk is in Jeoseon and offers visitors spectacular views over the Bamseom and the Donggang River. The skywalk is 583 meters above the ground and features a glass floor, adding to the range of the views available. The skywalk is also fitted with the longest zip wire in Asia, a must for thrill-seeking tourists. Now, this is the South Korean travel guide, in which the 6 destinations I tackled was included in the infographic. So those six, three natural attraction and three man-made attraction are just some of the most beautiful and amazing destination in South Korea. There are more destination you can go to and visit. There is the Invasion Tunnel in the north part of Korea, the Seoul, which include the Ensol Tower, the Winter Sonata in Nami Island, the Ichun, the Beong, and the festival, Jeonju, Hanok Village, the Daijun, Ichun Poetry, Penis Park, Olingdo, Duk, Jeong, Seong Goram Grotto, Andong Village, Ulsan, Busan, Daegu, Hyundai Beach, Jeju-do, Yuseong Plantation, and Guangzhou. So these are the destination you should visit. Now, I can really see the reason why most of the people around the world wanted to travel in South Korea, for it's blessed with with a beautiful nature. It offers everything a traveler could want in a destination. It has a long and fascinating history, a wonderful culture, amazing food, friendly people, and an excellent tourism infrastructure. Hope you learn and enjoy our travel in South Korea. Kansamnida. So, this uh, this is the reporter and presenter of South Korea, me myself, Pulini Aguirre, and a special thanks to my screen biographer, Miss Shanine Biro. So that's all.